The real war destroying people today is not happening in the world. It is happening inside their own minds. And the reason most people never win this war is because they do not even realize they are fighting one. They wake up every day carrying battles no one else can see. Battles made of thoughts and doubts and fears that rise with them before the sun does. Battles that follow them from morning to night, shaping every decision they make and every emotion they feel and every silent moment they pretend to be fine. This is the silent war inside the mind. A war that millions across the world are fighting right now in late 2025 as life grows more mentally demanding than ever. A war that is expected to intensify in 2026 as global uncertainty rises, digital overstimulation increases, and people struggle to keep up with a world evolving faster than their emotional systems were designed to handle. What most people do not realize is that this war rarely begins loudly. It starts quietly, almost harmlessly, like a subtle whisper inside the mind saying something is off, something is missing, something is wrong, something needs to change, but you do not know what or how or when. And in today's world, this whisper is becoming universal because we are living through a mental shift unlike anything seen before. Technology is accelerating faster. Society is becoming more demanding. Comparison is becoming more intense. Overstimulation is becoming normal. And the pressure to appear stable even while feeling overwhelmed has become a hidden expectation for millions. Most people feel a kind of exhaustion they cannot describe. A kind that is not solved by sleep. A kind that sits behind the eyes and beneath the skin and inside the chest. A constant heaviness shaped by too many thoughts, too many expectations, too many uncertainties, too many emotional responsibilities carried in silence. This is not just stress. It is the psychological weight of living in late 2025 where every person is expected to be productive, present, emotionally stable, financially growing, socially active, mentally strong, constantly improving, and endlessly available, all while quietly dealing with personal fears and unresolved internal chaos. It is the weight of adapting to a world preparing for even more complexity in 2026. A world where mental resilience is no longer optional but essential. A world where the battlefield inside the mind becomes the determining factor of whether someone rises or breaks. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed for no obvious reason. The last time your mind felt crowded even when life seemed calm. The last time you questioned your progress because you compared yourself to someone online. The last time you felt behind even though no one defined what behind truly means. The last time you felt tired not because of what you were doing but because of what you were thinking. These experiences are becoming more common because the silent war inside the mind is being fed by modern life, the constant stream of notifications, the pressure to stay relevant, the financial instability affecting millions as economies shift toward 2026, the fear of not becoming who you thought you would be by now, the emotional confusion caused by information overload, the expectation to stay strong even when you feel like collapsing inside. In this silent war, the enemy is not an external force. The enemy is the internal dialogue you never learned to control. The enemy is the fear disguised as logic. The enemy is the doubt disguised as caution. The enemy is the overthinking disguised as preparedness. The enemy is the emotional memories disguised as instincts. And the enemy is the quiet voice inside that tells you are not enough even when you are giving everything you can. One of the biggest battles people face right now is the war of identity. So many are questioning who they are, where they are going, and whether they are living authentically or simply surviving. In late 2025, identity has become fluid, uncertain, pressured by digital culture, shaped by information that moves too quickly to process, influenced by trends that change weekly, and tested by economic challenges that make even simple decisions feel heavy. And when identity becomes unstable, the mind begins to panic quietly, creating anxiety that feels like restlessness, sadness that feels like emptiness, fear that feels like caution, and confusion that feels like failure. Now imagine this with the transitions expected in 2026. More automation, more AI integration, more economic unpredictability, more digital acceleration, more emotional fragmentation as life speeds up again. People will enter 2026 with silent battles they carried from 2025 and new battles they never saw coming. And the question is not whether the world will grow more complex. The question is whether the mind will grow stronger or collapse under pressure. The silent war also shows up in finances. Across America, Europe, Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and nearly every major region, financial pressure has become one of the strongest psychological triggers in this generation. Inflation is still affecting real lives as 2025 ends. Cost of living continues rising. Income often remains stagnant. Opportunities feel more competitive. And by 2026, many fear that economic conditions may tighten even further before they improve. Most people are not stressed about money because of numbers, but because of what those numbers mean: stability, safety, identity, freedom, dignity, survival. Financial pressure creates internal war because it attacks the deepest emotional need for security, and when security feels threatened, the mind becomes tense, restless, defensive, and overwhelmed. The silent war also shows up in relationships. People today are more connected than any generation in history, but also more emotionally isolated. They can speak to anyone online but struggle to speak honestly to the people they love. They know hundreds of faces but share their soul with no one. And as 2026 approaches, relationship anxiety is increasing because emotional expectations are rising while emotional capacity is shrinking. People want deep love but fear vulnerability. People want support but fear being a burden. People want connection but fear rejection. People want honesty but fear judgment. These contradictions fuel internal conflict and make the heart and mind feel like opponents instead of partners. Another major battlefield is self-doubt. Because the mind is overstimulated and constantly comparing itself, self-trust becomes fragile. People question their decisions. They question their purpose. They question their progress. And they question whether they have what it takes to build the future they dream of. This is happening now more than ever because the world is moving so fast that even confident people start doubting themselves when they cannot keep up. But self-doubt is not always logical. It is emotional. It is the mind trying to protect you from disappointment by holding you back from potential. It is the mind choosing safety over progress. It is the mind replaying old failures to prevent new risks. And unless you learn to recognize this pattern, you will confuse self-protection with self-limitation. But here is the truth the mind does not want you to know. The silent war inside of you is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are evolving. The mind becomes loudest when you are outgrowing old versions of yourself. The mind becomes chaotic when you are stepping into unfamiliar territory. The mind becomes fearful when your next level requires a new identity. And the mind becomes resistant when your potential begins to rise. You are not breaking down. You are breaking through. The intensity you feel in late 2025 is the emotional pressure of shifting into a new psychological era, your own. Your mind is not fighting you because you are failing. Your mind is fighting you because you are changing. And change is uncomfortable even when it is necessary. But here is where everything shifts in your favor. The silent war is not won through force but through awareness. Awareness is the beginning of control. Awareness is the enemy of fear. Awareness is the dissolving of mental illusions. Awareness is the moment you stop reacting to thoughts and start directing them. The mind has patterns. If you learn the patterns, you can break the war. When you feel overwhelmed, it usually means the mind has lost clarity. When you feel anxious, it usually means the mind is projecting fear instead of interpreting truth. When you feel unmotivated, it usually means the mind is seeking safety instead of growth. When you feel emotionally numb, it usually means the mind is protecting you from overload. These are not failures. They are signals. And the moment you read the signal correctly, the battle begins to shift. Let me show you how you win. You win by slowing down your thoughts instead of letting them run wild. You win by questioning your assumptions instead of accepting them blindly. You win by choosing what you focus on instead of letting your mind pull you into chaos. You win by catching yourself in self-doubt and replacing it with evidence of your strength. You win by reminding yourself that pressure does not mean you are weak, but that something powerful is being formed inside you. You win by recognizing that emotional battles are not the end, but the beginning of transformation. You win by trusting that the version of you emerging for 2026 is wiser, stronger, more grounded, more emotionally aware, and more mentally resilient than any version that came before. You win the silent war by becoming conscious of it. And once consciousness enters the battlefield, the war begins to lose power. So breathe. You are not alone. Millions are fighting the same invisible battles right now. Millions are silently struggling in late 2025, trying to make sense of their minds, trying to survive emotional storms, trying to build their future in a world that feels unstable. But the fact that you are aware means you are ready to rise. You are ready to understand yourself. You are ready to navigate the noise. You are ready to step into the next version of your life. And nothing is more powerful than a person who learns to master their inner world, because once the mind is stable, everything else becomes possible. If this message reached you deeply, then stay with me, because your journey does not end here. Like this video so more people can find it. Comment your thoughts so we can continue this conversation. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you do not miss what comes next. Your mind may be a battlefield right now, but you are not defined by the silent war inside. You are defined by the strength rising in you as you learn to win it.